If you're here, you probably want to understand the origins of the Hakka people, and you want to do it quickly and thoroughly, right? Well, that's exactly what we're all about today.
That's right.
So we're going deep, a real deep dive into the heart of this topic.
Mm.
What are the established facts? What does the scholarly consensus tell us? And maybe why are some other theories out there not so convincing?
Yeah, I think a great place to start with this is the core consensus, right? There are three fundamental points that pretty much all the scholars agree on about Hakka origins.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, so first off, the Hakka formed during the Tang Dynasty. Second, their ancestral homeland is in Shibi Village in Ningxia County in western Fujian. And finally, their language has deep roots in the northwestern dialects spoken way back in the Tang era.
Okay, so if we're taking those as our starting points, and it seems like, there's a lot of agreement on that, it begs the question, right?
Right.
Who were these Northwestern dialect speakers who ended up in Shibi Village during the Tang Dynasty? This is where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We're talking about a period after the Aleutian Rebellion, a huge event that really shook up the Tang Dynasty.
Huge, yeah.
And it's thought that all sorts of groups speaking these, Northwestern dialects might have migrated to that region.
Exactly, exactly. You have all these potential migrants, and they're a pretty diverse bunch, right?
Oh, yeah. Walk me through it.
So you've got the Khazar Jews who, and this is fascinating, they were a Turkic group who had actually converted to Judaism, and they had some interaction with the Tang Dynasty.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, and then you've got the Burtas. Now, they had ties to what we know as modern-day Russia.
Yeah.
And then you can't forget about all those various Turkic groups that were known as the Tile. And one branch of these guys, they were called the Kosa. And get this, they were also linked to the Khazars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's more, right? We could even be looking at remnants of the Katanji and Goguryeo populations in this mix. It was a real melting pot of cultures and influences.
Oh, man, that is so cool. This is reminding me, there's a Tianshan General Shrine in Shibi, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
What's crazy is that all the historical records, even the local legends, tie this shrine to the Teal people.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, you mentioned the Kosa, another name for those Khazar Jews. And they were, remember, a branch of the Teals.
Right.
So the evidence really seems to point towards this Teal connection with that shrine.
It makes you wonder about some of those other claims that are out there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, there are some people who say that the Hakka didn't emerge until much later, like during the Ming or the Qing dynasties. But that clashes with the whole Tang Dynasty origin story that we've been talking about.
It really does. And what makes it even more confusing is that some of these theories try to tie the Hakka to much earlier origins that are, well, let's just say not as well supported,
Like legendary almost.
Yeah, almost mythical. For example, some people claim links to the Shang dynasty over in Chaozhou. Or they connect them to mythological figures like Yu Hoshi or Qiyu, or they say that the Hakka are descended from the Yao people. There's even a theory that Meizu was purely a Yao region.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to have it both ways. They say the Hakka appeared late, but then also try to attach these really ancient origins to them. And it just doesn't line up with the linguistic and historical evidence that points to the Tang dynasty as the real starting point for the Hakka. It's like, for example, there's this idea that Hakka language actually developed from military jargon that spread after the fall of the Khitan. But how does that make sense when Hakka has all these ties to the northwestern dialect spoken during the Tang dynasty?
Right, yeah.
And it's fascinating because Hakka actually preserves this specific vowel sound that was common in the northwestern dialects of the Tang era. And that sound has disappeared from a lot of other modern Chinese varieties.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like a linguistic time capsule.
I love that. So to be clear, the scholarly consensus is really solid on the Tang Dynasty being the formation period for the Hakka, right?
Absolutely.
These other claims, they just don't have the evidence to back them up.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to base our understanding of history on solid evidence, right? It's important to rely on the established research and not get sidetracked by speculation.
100%. So just to recap for everyone, the accepted view from academia puts the origins of the Hakka firmly in the Tang Dynasty, centered in Western Fujian, with their language tracing back to those northwestern dialects.
Exactly. And it's likely, very likely that this all came together because of migrations by various groups speaking those northwestern dialects after that Aleutian Rebellion.
Okay, so that's the consensus, but this is where I get really curious, right?
Yeah.
Because even within this solid framework, we're talking about all these different groups, all these different northwestern dialect speakers who potentially contributed to the Hakka identity.
That's right.
So what I'm wondering is, what other avenues of research could we explore to figure out the specific cultural and linguistic threads that came together to create the Hakka people we know today? I mean, what a rich and complex tapestry
Oh,
here.
absolutely. There's so much more to discover. And that's what makes studying history so exciting.
It's a journey for sure.
Always is.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. And until next time, keep those minds curious.
See you next time.